Also, I got to ask you just because it hasn't happened too much lately, but I guess you guys are ranked #1 in total defense. Is that something you have talked to the defense about, and not letting it go to their head and getting a little bit better every day, those kinds of things?
Well, the message never changes, really, for the most part, and they can all read, so they get the picture, but they also understand that we're going to face a plethora of offenses right now that are very impactful. West Virginia has a pretty, very good offense, and I don't know what they are, 4th or 5th in our conference in total offense. And that's at 500 plus yards per game. So, there's an awful lot of great offenses coming up, and so I guess what I'm saying, the test is still on the table. Yeah.
Coach, after technically 2.5 games played, you guys are top in the Big 12 in both red zone offense and defense. Offensively, especially with the production that you've been able to get out of Winston Dimmel, do you feel like when your team gets down in that area that it's nearly automatic as far as scoring?
I can't believe you asked me that. There is nothing in your life or mine that is automatic. I want to assure you that. And no, it isn't automatic. In fact, I was just telling our players the other day, we were 5 for 5 based on NC2A stats in the quote-unquote red zone. My red zone starts a heck of a lot earlier than the NC2A does. We missed a field goal down there, so we weren't 5 for 5 in my eyes. But in reference to your question, I'm pleased that we have had the success we've had up to this point in time. But like I say, defenses are going to get tougher now. We've got to be better than what we are. Not in the conversion ratio, but just in our performance and snap after snap. So we're still a work in progress there.
And then defensively, at least with the NCAA's definition of the red zone, you guys have only let teams get down into that area once this season. What's kind of the message to your team to keep up kind of the energy and enthusiasm to keep them out of that?
Well,
range?
I mean, it's the same thing no matter who and I appreciate the questions, but that and all the statistical things that you might bring up, it's not that I slough it off necessarily. It's just I'm saying, hey, you've done this, and you've earned that recognition regardless of who you lined up and play against. The key element is okay, you've set the standard, now let's hold up to the standard. Let's be that good this week and the following weeks to come. And so anyway, if there's a message, that's it.
Coach, tagging on to what he said about Winston's success in the red zone, what would your message be to those who say that by consistently using Winston down there that it's maybe taking away from the diversity of your offense?
Well, I don't know if it takes away from the diversity of it. I think, people are going to say, okay, Winston's standing behind the center, he's going to carry the football, so, if we can't continually do the same thing and expect good football teams not to be able to, defend that. But, as I've said before, you can put a lot of people back there and do that. The key element is, what happens up front. I mean, we get the ball in the end zone. If we're running the ball, we run it in the end zone because you got good people up front blocking. And if you block well, you'll get it in the end zone if I'm carrying it. If you, that's maybe a little stretch, but that's close. But if you don't block well up front, it doesn't make any difference. It's not going to happen.
Coach, going back to how you mentioned you saw a lot of mistakes yesterday in practice, do you think some of that's because just your young team has some nerves heading into their first conference game?
It's a good question. I don't know if I have the answer to it. I don't think so. but I'm not positive about that. You've given me some material for practice this afternoon. Thank you. I think there's a number of other things which I probably won't go into that probably created the difficulty that we had yesterday. Yeah, that's a good question. Ask me next week and I'll have a better answer for you.
Coach, as you evaluate Jesse's progression through 3 games, in what ways do you think he's improved the most since his first start at Stanford?
Well, I think just the experience, I think, has brought all of his game to light a little bit better. I think, again, we're looking at a guy that hadn't been on the field, prior to this. So, every snap of every preseason or pre-conference game, was kind of a new experience for him, and I think he's getting a little bit more comfortable with his environment. I think he readily admits that things are, the players always say it slows down for you, but I think he's seeing things a little bit better and not getting as rushed and taking a little bit more time with his decisions and making better decisions. I think that's part of it. I just think all facets of his game have kind of gotten better, and I think it's because not that the ability wasn't there. It's just having the opportunity to experience it over and over and over and over again. It's repetition has a great deal to do with improvement and achieving what you're capable of achieving, and he's getting those kind of repetitions now. So they all count for him. They add up pretty good.
Coach Matthew McCrane's missed a couple field goals this year after a string of record-setting makes. Is there anything you can put your finger on that's going on with him?
Well, I think he outthinks himself sometimes. That probably is that's kind of a pat answer too. I mean, that coaches probably say that when they don't have the real answer to what is. But I think he does kind of. He's pretty invested in it, and I think maybe he just processes things maybe a little bit too thoroughly sometimes. But he wants to be perfect. He wants to get them all through the uprights, but just relax a little bit, and he's had enough swings. I mean, he's now, and I would certainly not make an excuse because he's missed 2 of them. Last week, because of the weather conditions, the opportunity to go out on the field was very limited, and normally he takes a more extensive warm-up. So don't tell him that I said that, because I don't want him to utilize that as an excuse, which he wouldn't do, which he certainly wouldn't.
Coach was curious what you thought about Matt Syward and how he's played. Has there been much of a drop-off since he's been in there?
I thought Matt did well. It was good to have him back, on the field and get more snaps. Again, wish we'd have, had the opportunity to get even more in the second half. But I thought he played well, and most significantly, paying attention to him in practice, he is, he's really making some. He's enhanced his capabilities, I think. So he's getting along fine.
Are you anticipating Trey being able to go at West Virginia?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah.
On the other side of the ball, how would you evaluate your offensive line so far?
They're getting better, I think. But, once again, there's they're going to line up and play against, some elevated defenses now in the next 9 weeks. So, the test is still out there, I think. But, based on, starting with Stanford and then the other 2 opponents that we played, I think they've held their own, so to speak.